Hello and welcome to Kojo's Trick Lab. I'm here with the one and only, the snake tickler, the cobra juggler, the python choker, Omid.
Python choker. Hey, listen, these pythons have got nothing, no leg to stand up on.
And we've got something very important to talk about today. So, I've been wanting to talk to someone about this for a while. I thought about doing the video by myself, but wouldn't be as interesting. I wanted a different point of view. We're going to talk about what makes the most elite trickers so elite. I'm talking the best of the best. I'm talking your Alexander Andersons, your Michael Gufforys, the ones who are above the crowd. What is making those trickers so good? What do they all have in common? And yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And also, there's a Christmas tree here, so it's very festive.
It's Christmas.
Christmas.
So first off, who are those trickers? Who are the trickers that are on the tier we're talking about? The next level trickers.
Well, for the first time in history, there's two people from the exact same place, which has never happened before, which is quite strange. Because if you look at all of the best people over the years, there's people that are really good, but there's never two people that are really God level in the exact same place.
That's true, actually.
It's never happened before.
There's normally one really good one, and then there's a load of other decent trickers around them.
Yeah, but
or sometimes they're just by themselves. But
yeah.
Closest to that, probably Ilya and Slava.
Ah, that's true. Yeah, they're both
They're in the same
incredible.
place.
And they're two completely different styles, same as Shosei and Zed, and they do different tricks. So yeah, that's true. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
But
Okay, but on this tier, back to the subject, you got obviously Shosei, Zen, Michael Guffory, Alexander Anderson, Johan,
Ethan Turner?
Ethan Turner, Taka, and then Fuju and Haruki. Because
Haruki
because
as
those
well,
two
yeah,
are both
yeah.
Messed up.
They're
They're
both messed
shuriken
up,
in,
yeah.
combo in.
Ilya
next
as well.
level. Oh yeah, Ilya.
Ilya,
Ten.
we've got to include Ilya.
We'll say those 10 as our top 10 most messed up. I guess you got also Jacob Pinto as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we're probably missing out some people. It's easy to forget some of them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's as long as you have a point of reference.
Yeah, so that's the sort of level we're talking about. Not people who are pretty good at tricks. I mean, we're both alright at tricks, but we're not that
We can
good.
do our flips, but we're not that level.
Yeah, so people who are that level. Now, what do they all have in common? I think first off,
Gym access, I'd say.
gym access, yeah. Every single one of those has pretty much had constant gym access whenever they want.
Yeah.
Really, they all have that kind of hookup. I know Fuji and Haruki, they have that gym that they're in, and it seems like it's just them there lots of the time.
Well, that's the one that Taka used to train.
Yeah, Taka's in there every day. Shosei and Zen, obviously, they can train every single day at Tundra.
Yeah.
Ilya, he's always had
The sport
pretty much
place.
unlimited access to that.
Yeah.
Mike, he had his own gym.
He still has
Full
access to that gym if he wants it, whenever he wants it. He still lives in Kansas,
Jacob Pinto, he has his own gym
in his house.
in his house, so that helps, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't think there's anybody, and
The
Alexander as well.
Alexander, he's got unlimited access to a really good gym for free every single day, all day it's open.
Yeah.
There's only one person who doesn't fit that rule, who's actually, I find to be the most impressive tricker in the world, considering his circumstances, and that's Johan.
True.
Because Johan's not just had consistent access to a gym all of the time through his training. In fact, most of Johan's training has been done on hard floors and wet grass in Finland. He managed to get really good whilst training in his school sports hall, just on wood.
And just on concrete in some random road that seems to be abandoned in the middle of nowhere.
So Johan seems to be a bit of a special case there.
Yeah.
Now, it does seem you'd think, oh well, anyone could just spend however many, 3 to 6 hours every day just training on hard floor or grass. But this is what's different about Johan. Most people's bodies just wouldn't take that.
Yeah.
They'd get hurt more.
Yeah.
But he went for years and years without getting injuries, even though he trained on hard floors and grass all of the time. And when I talked to him about this, he said that him training on hard floors is the main reason he's so good. That's what he puts it down to as the number one reason.
Well, we've
Which is
both
interesting.
experienced that though, because whenever we've trained on grass or concrete consistently, whenever we get back in the gym, it's always like you've had a massive level up without actually having to do any different tricks. And I notice that all the time, but the only issue is we never get to that point where we can continue doing that. So I wonder what it is that made him different, whether it's just,
Well,
genetics.
the thing that's different, that stands out to me, it's like it's easy to build power on grass. It's hard to get
level.
new tricks. It's
Yeah.
hard to level up. It's easy to get power in the tricks you have, to clean everything up, to just build strength in your body. But when it comes to learning new moves, especially power moves,
Yeah.
then grass is a hard place to do
You
that.
just gotta want it, and then
Yeah.
that kind of leads on to the next point.
Yeah, wanting it. Johan's probably the hungriest trick
Yeah.
I've seen. And then people like Ilya as well.
Yeah.
When I first saw him at Holy Land Gathering, he trained for 6 hours
Yeah.
every single day. And even on the last day of the gathering, after training all day pretty much, he'd have like 3 2-hour sessions already. He was still looking just as powerful as when he arrived. He did aerial front swing envigado to the backside 9, double snapu thing.
Yeah. Just doing
Yeah,
new tricks
wild.
as well. Like that's the thing. And I think
Always
if you have
pushing.
that hunger, no matter who you are, where you are, or what's happening around you, if you're in a gathering environment, you're always pushing, and that's something that everybody can experience to a certain extent. But it's really easy to get a little bit fatigued and just kind of lay off a little bit. And that's something that we all have to do, and something that we all do, just to make sure that we're safe. But these people, they just seem to keep going and keep going.
Yeah.
And we have experienced it, especially when we were younger, because we were doing, like much less impact lower impact tricks. But these people just, it doesn't matter what they're doing, they just keep on going. And like, even after a 6-hour session, they're still pushing to get brand new tricks that they've never done before.
Yeah.
And having that hunger is one of the most important things, because you can have everything else, but if you don't have the hunger, you're not gonna really push past.
That's true, because there's lots of people who have the gym access. Like all of these people we've talked about, they have a bunch of trickers who they
Yeah.
train with. There's a load of other people in the same circumstance as them, but they're nowhere near as good. Like when I first saw Johan at Tampere Gathering in 2014 or something,
14, 15.
something like that, then that was before he was really good at tricks, and he was just trying cart dub swings.
Yeah.
And for hours and hours, he'd just try them again and again. He was doing more tricks than anyone at the gathering.
Yeah.
And he wasn't like a pro tricker then. So you can kind of see it early on with some people.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to get into is because there's lots of people who have that kind of mindset, is what's setting these people apart, what's making them get to the top of the
upper
pyramid.
echelon.
Yeah, the top of the skyscraper.
Flips.
Flips. There's some key things they all share in common. None of those people we've listed are above a certain height. They're all tiny little men.
That's true.
Tiny men.
That's Slava. Oh no, we didn't.
It's like Slava's obviously incredible.
Yeah, but he's not
but
like
not quite like.
he's not triple quarter split. Maybe if he didn't get injured, things might be different. But these kind of things
Yeah.
do set people back, and he is still incredible. He's one of the best in the
There's
world.
quite a few people who you could put on that elite level just for all-rounded incredibleness.
Yeah.
But we're going for the elite with like the next level power kind
Yeah,
of, because there's
yeah.
people like Will Coney's or whatever
Yeah,
who I'd say is just as good as lots of those people, just not in the same like busted alien how's he doing that way.
Yeah.
Like he's just more good at like across the board.
Yeah.
So we're talking the people who've gone, who are swinging out of triple corks
Yeah.
and stuff like that, doing the really busted, super high level combos.
Yeah. The height thing is it's a big one.
Yeah.
Because you and I were like 6 foot, and we've been, for me anyway, I've been trying to like, I don't know, I never used to really agree with the height thing, but then you can't really argue against it. Like, and this is coming from myself, like having changed my opinion. And I think a big part of it was like just believing that I could get as good as I wanted. And I still believe that I could to a certain extent, but there is definite, I don't know, there's definite benefits of being a smaller man, because your center of gravity is lower and you're just,
I think you're a lot less likely to get injured.
yes.
Because
yes,
if
that's
you're
a big one.
taller, then if you're over 6 foot or whatever, then you're going to be so much heavier, but your ankles aren't going to be that much stronger. Me compared to Nick Fry, for example. Now I weigh not quite double Nick Fry, but a lot more than Nick Fry.
Yeah.
I'm at least like another 50% of his body weight. Now, my ankles aren't going to be 50% stronger than Nick Fry's, and my knees. And when I'm falling from a height, because gravity is like a multiplier effect, there's more and more force depending on the further you're falling, and it's times by your weight. I'm not gonna feel 50% more impact. It's gonna be even more than that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I think the extra weight that you carry as a taller person means you're more likely to get injured. It's going to be harder for you to be doing triple swings and stuff. You're going to feel more impact on your body after every session. There's just going to be a lot of factors that are going to weigh into like how good you can really get.
What we're merely pointing out is not that if you're watching this and you're 6'2", that you're never going to get good at flips. That's not what we're saying at all.
It's still be incredibly good.
It's just a case where, from what we've seen up to this point, through a relatively small sample of people, because granted, there's not that many triggers. Like it's not like we're looking at samples of millions and millions of people where there'd be more kind of anomalies. But with this, it just kind of seems like we've listed 10 people and only.
None of them.
None of them are over like
5,
7
or something.
Yeah, like
they're all pretty small. So even though you can get really good, like I always thought, I'm not gonna tell myself I can't get that good because of my height.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get as good as I possibly can. I can get just as good as anyone else, and that's the right like attitude you want to have. You don't want to be limiting yourself using something like that as an excuse for you not getting good, or that's just gonna slow down how good you get. But the people who really just they have that extra edge, do all seem to be at that height.
Yeah.
But leading on from what I was saying about lower injury rate and stuff like that, all of those people as well, all of those people started doing flips in childhood is a really important thing to notice.
Yeah.
Now, I can't think of a single trigger, because I started when I was 16, I think you started 17, yeah. I can't think of a single trigger who's like that good on that elite level who didn't start like at the age of 12 or below.
Yeah.
At least with some form of flips.
Yeah, no, I think it's a true testament to the way that your body is conditioned. Because if you look at most gymnasts, for example, they go through all of this rigorous training and conditioning from a very young age, and then their risk of injury is so much lower than those that are starting later on, because it's like you build your body from the ground up. Like even while going through puberty, you build it into what it needs to be. When you do hit puberty and all of a sudden you're like, yo, I've got all this hair and all these muscles, so I'm just gonna do all these flips, but way there.
I'm just gonna do scoop double forward.
But like everyone that started from a young age, like, although they may deal with injuries, like Aiden Kennedy has different injuries and stuff, but like you can tell by the way his body moves that he's nowhere near as hindered as someone like us old men. And it's just like when he's walking around the floor, he's not like, oh, me hip, oh, me back.
Another factor that weighs into that. Now, if you've seen the Jamcast interviews with Shosei, Mike Guthrie, and Johan, you'll notice one thing in common with all of them. They've all had periods in their training where they train like 4 to 6 hours a day for at least a couple of years. They've all had time when they were doing that, putting in those like hour after hour. Now, if you start younger, if you start as a child, then you can do that. You can do that kind of training through your teenage years, really. Your body will recover, your body will handle it. When you get older, when you start to get into your 20s, if you're trying to train like that, then unless you're really conditioned for it and you've had years and years without being injured and your body's like can take that, you're probably just going to get injured a lot from it. Like Mike talks about how he doesn't train that much now, he can't train that much now because he's older, he trains 2 or 3 times a week. Though those teenage years, that was when he got super, super good.
Yeah.
And I think if you start younger, you're just going to have more of those years where you can make the most progression. As when you get older, you just can't put in as many hours. It just doesn't really work with your body.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, I mean, I know Matteo, he manages to put in a lot of hours.
But I think there's a lot to be said about the type of tricks that you're doing. Because
Yeah,
like if you're
that's
constantly like kicking your legs out in the most
Yeah,
manic
doing really
way possible
extended
and like
stuff all the
doing
time.
all this kind of thing, then it's gonna increase the risk of injury. Whereas Matteo does a very specific skill set that means he's a lot of the time just kind of like this, and then he comes out and he'll do a round, but then he's this again. And I don't know, like moving on to something else that I think makes a difference and something that is relatively new is there's only a few people that have had this, but if you look at places like Japan, a common theme that I'm now seeing with the people that are reaching that like god level tier is having somebody to train them, like a legit trainer.
Yeah, coaching's a
Yeah.
great factor to come into it. Now Shosei and Zen both coached. Jacob Pinto from an early age had coaching from people like Matt Inning, some of the best
Yeah.
trickers in the world, teaching him. So
Michael Guthrie as well.
Michael Guthrie, he was coached early on in like martial arts, and he said in his interview on the Jamcast thing that he went to like sport karate camps and stuff to get coached.
And cheerleading as well,
And
because
yeah,
he had
so tumbling
cheerleading
training. And then
Um,
people like Taka, he was coached in gymnastics for most of his life.
you can't just look at all of these things and be like, oh, well, I don't have this or I don't have this, so I can't get good. Now, the first thing I want to address is you can create anything that you want. Now, obviously, it's kind of age dependent because, like, if you're watching this and you're like 9 years old, you're not going to be able to say to your mum, listen, I need to move to Japan so I can live and train with the Tantra guys. But, like, there is still things that you can do because if you show your parents enough of like an interest and a willingness to put in the hard work, then hopefully they'll see that and also be willing to help you in any way that they can, no matter what your age. Like if you're 9, if you're 12, 13, but then once you get to the age where you're, you know, a grown enough person to be making decisions for yourself, if you really want to get good, and obviously you don't have to, but if you really want to get good, you could do what even we did. And we're not that level, but like we just got a house together 10 minutes away from a gym and then just trained every day.
Yeah, because I wanted to have a trampoline. My parents said that I couldn't have a trampoline in the garden, so I was like, okay, well I need to get a house then so I can have a trampoline, so I can train properly. So I got a job, and then found people to get a house with, found this little Omid, and then got a house, and we had 3 trampolines.
We didn't need 3 trampolines, but
You just got to make these things happen.
I don't know. That kind of covers it though. Is there anything else you wanted to mention?
No, that's pretty much it. Those seem to be the main reasons for how people get really good. If there's someone you can think of who did start when they were an adult and they're now one of the very best trickers in the world, then post it in the KTL members group because I'd be interested to hear about it. I've put that out there quite a few times. So far, no one's ever like thought of anyone. So I don't know if there is anyone who fits into that category. But if there is, then yeah, I want to hear about it because it's interesting.
Yeah.
So I hope you enjoyed this talk. Hope you learnt a little something, and I'll see you next time.
Peace. Bye.
Bye.